Like a lot of people born in the early 2000s, I grew up watching and loving Star Wars. Whether it was the movies or the Clone Wars, I loved it all. And as I've gotten older, I still love Star Wars, but I'm more aware of the flaws in the movies, such as the clunky dialogue.
It's only because I'm so in love.
It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
And the over-merchandising. And over the past decade, Disney has produced so much Star Wars content, I can't help but feel a bit oversaturated by it. It doesn't help that the sequel trilogy, the flagship Disney product of Star Wars, was a bit of a mess, with no clear story planned out from beginning to end, a change of director twice, one of which being J.J. Abrams, who has a habit of making forgettable mystery box stories, and the other being Rian Johnson, who is talented and has made good movies such as Knives Out, but just didn't get his ideas executed correctly in The Last Jedi. Which brings us to Obi-Wan Kenobi. As a fan of the prequels and of Ewan McGregor as a fellow Scotsman, I had high hopes for this show, and so far I have really enjoyed it, but there are some flaws. So let's get into it. Episode 1. The show starts out by showing us Order 66, and a group of younglings attempting to escape it, and it soon reveals that one of them became an Inquisitor called Reva, the third sister, who is on the hunt for Obi-Wan Kenobi for reasons not yet revealed. It then sets up Obi-Wan's life on Tatooine, living off scraps and hiding in the desert, while attempting to contact Luke, much to the rejection of Uncle Owen. Side note, Uncle Owen's actor, Joel Edgerton, is a phenomenal actor, and you should check out The King if you like him. Soon, Reva and the other Inquisitors find and kill the other Jedi on Tatooine, and leave. The show then sets up young Leia's life on Alderaan, showing her to be adventurous and intelligent, which frustrates but amuses her parents. She is then captured by bounty hunters hired by Reva to drive Obi-Wan out of hiding, but she reluctantly leaves to rescue her. This episode was a bit slow for me personally, but it did do a good job of setting up where everyone was and what sort of state they are in. The only criticism I have is that Obi-Wan seems a bit dejected overall, despite his persistence with Owen, and it comes across as if he has given up and is scarred badly by his past, which could be explained by 10 years of isolation, but he just seems to be lacking a bit of the measure and discipline his younger and older self both have. However, Ewan McGregor is still great, and he does enough to convince you that it's still Obi-Wan. It's also nice to see Joel Edgerton and Jimmy Smits reprise their roles. Episode 2. Episode 2 starts out with Obi-Wan arriving on the planet Leia is being held on, and is disturbed to find a homeless clone, shout out to Tamura Morrison, begging him for money, and Ewan McGregor expertly displays the shock, anxiety and torment that Obi-Wan would feel in that moment. Obi-Wan then comes across a hustler pretending to be a Jedi, played by Kumail Nanjiani, who points him in the right direction towards Leia, and he then finds Leia and struggles to keep her safe and convince her he is a Jedi. The Inquisitors then arrive and place the city on lockdown, and this forces Obi-Wan and Leia to flee on a cargo transport to Maputso, but not before being confronted by Reva, who reveals to Obi-Wan that Anakin is alive, and just as Obi-Wan's face fills with dread, it cuts to Vader's face, with his dark red eyes piercing through the Bacta tank. Episode 2 is a bit better than the first one, with some creative features such as the homeless clone and the fake Jedi. Props to Tamura Morrison for doing the cameo, and Kumail Nanjiani is fun and charming, but he seems a bit wasted if he's only going to be in one episode because he is a big name. The Vader reveal is also epic and instantly sends that fear only he is capable of conjuring down your spine once again. The Leia chase scene is a bit slow and predictable and does slow down the episode unnecessarily, and Reva killing the Grand Inquisitor does feel a bit unearned and makes her feel a bit more unlikable and a bit more entitled, but Moses Ingram sells her arrogance and her lack of humility very well, and the treatment some fans are giving her is pathetic. Episode 3. Episode 3 opens with Vader getting suited and booted, in all of its painful and horrifying detail, with spikes stabbing into him, his limbs being mechanically twisted into place, and his mask being lowered down menacingly. We then follow Obi-Wan and Leia through Maputso, trying to hide their identity, and we get visions of a young and healthy Anakin, along with some snippets of Obi-Wan's past and a half-true monologue about what he remembers of Leia's mother, while hiding in plain sight from the Empire. They are soon revealed, but are given safeguard by an undercover rebel, trying to plan an escape, but then Vader and the Inquisitors show up and they all get separated, with Tala trying to buy Leia time to escape, and Obi-Wan facing down Vader in disbelief. Vader toys with Obi-Wan, dueling with him, and before cornering him in a quarry and throwing him into fire, as a form of poetic justice. But Tala soon shows up and saves Obi-Wan from his anguish, while Reva kidnaps Leia for interrogation. Seeing Vader naked like that shows how broken Anakin is, physically and mentally. He has become consumed by revenge and hatred, and clearly sees the Inquisitors as vastly inferior to himself, and plays into their workplace politics very well, as the Inquisitors are shown to be squabbling and desperate for power and approval, which Vader clearly does not approve of. It was also great to see Hayden as young Anakin, as he is doing some of the suit performances, and it is nice to see him getting the long-deserved love he is now getting from the fans. He also seems like a cool guy as well. Right, enough sucking his dick. Next. Episode 4. Episode 4 opens with Obi-Wan and Vader both simultaneously recovering in bacta tanks, with Obi-Wan unable to relax because he has lost Leia, and Vader enraged that he couldn't catch Kenobi. The rebels then plan a rescue mission for Leia, and Tala and Obi-Wan soon leave to rescue her. They soon arrive at the Inquisitor's base, which is on a moon of Mustafar, where Vader's base is, and Tala makes her way through security by pulling rank, while Obi-Wan swims in via an access hole. She then guides Obi-Wan through the base while trying to avoid detection herself, even though she's sitting in the Imperial equivalent of an open-plan office, while Reva interrogates Leia and is messing with her droid. Just before Obi-Wan finds Leia, he stumbles across a horrifying sight, a tomb containing all the Force-sensitive people the Inquisitors and Vader have caught over the years, but he then refocuses as he hears Leia screaming, and rushes to save her, while Tala buys them some time by distracting Reva. Obi-Wan dusts himself down and finds his form again, defending himself and Leia from the several assaults. They then meet up with Tala and escape from the base, but not without losing an ally. Reva is then choked by Vader for her incompetence before revealing that Lola, the droid, has been reprogrammed to be a tracking device for them to follow. The pairing of the bacta tanks was a fun piece of editing, showing both of their suffering at the same time, and it was also great to get to see Obi-Wan back in action using the Force and his lightsaber to defend himself and Leia. And it shows that he's becoming more confident and headstrong in his actions now, becoming more like the old Ben Kenobi we all know and love. And Indira Varma sells the nervousness of Tala very well, but the fact that she is just sitting in a desk next to people who can hear her talking is a bit ridiculous and could have been written a bit better, but that's not Indira's fault. Reva struggling to break Leia shows that her confidence and ego are a bit misplaced, which is furthered by Vader choking her. Even if she manages to save herself with the tracker, it shows that Reva isn't necessarily that powerful, she's just a bit more resourceful than the other Inquisitors, which is perhaps why Vader seems to be pushing her. Also, at the end, the pilot is surprised when his friend doesn't return, but surely the cruiser would have noticed something on the radar or some sort of indication that would have told him that he died. Or better yet, would he not have noticed only one fighter docking in the ship? The death could have been better written to more naturally display his dislike of Obi-Wan and the Empire, but poor writing cheapens it. Like I said at the beginning, the show is very enjoyable and has a lot of fun and creative ideas in it. It just feels a bit simplistic at times as well, and the writing feels a bit rushed, as if they had used the first draft of the script, but it is good and I would recommend it to anyone anyway. So far, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Thank you for listening.